had an idea bubbling for a text-based web game. I wanted players to explore, make choices, face challenges, but I needed a rule set. Something that doesn't require a 3-day seminar to understand, something that just works and lets the story shine. And that, in a nutshell, is how Essence came to be. Hi, I'm That Plays Games, and in this video, we're not reviewing a game or talking about some video game feature or anything else that I usually do on this channel. We're actually looking at a game or a rule set or a tabletop RPG that I've built from the ground up myself. Essence started as the engine for that web game that I talked about, and that I am in the process of making. But it quickly became clear to me that this actually had potential as a standalone tabletop role-playing system. It is designed to be streamlined, heavily narrative-focused, and adaptable to pretty much any setting your creative mind can conjure. The goal was simple: quick to learn, intuitive to play, and versatile enough for any kind of story, whether you're a seasoned gamer or introducing your cousin or kid to their first RPG. The web game was going to have a large language model AI as the game master, so anything too complex, and I had a feeling that those rules would kind of start falling apart pretty fast. So that's how it came to be, but how does Essence play? Let's get into the dice and details. At the heart of every Essence character are 3 core stats. We're keeping it focused, because who needs a character sheet that looks like an Excel sheet, right? So, brawn. This is your character's physical presence and power. If you're trying to kick down a stubbornly locked door, that's brawn. You need to haul some unconscious dwarf companion out of the dragon's lair, definitely brawn. Or maybe you're just trying to open that ridiculously tight pickle jar. That's also brawn. Brain is how you cover your intellect, knowledge, and awareness. Deciphering an ancient riddle, recalling a vital piece of forgotten lore, spotting the most invisible tripwire, convincing someone to do something you want, or maybe even winning a high-stakes poker game through sheer cunning. This is all where brains comes to play. Lastly, we have balance. Now this is all about agility, dexterity, and precision. Think sneaking past a dosing guard, disarming that complex trap that you found before. Each stat is assigned a number between 1 and 9. This dictates how many standard 6-sided dice, or d6 as we RPG connoisseurs would say, that you roll when that stat is tested. More dice means you generally have a better chance of, well, not messing it up too badly. As for how these stats get assigned, we'll get into that later. First, let's talk about how you use them. So let's say your character wants to do something where the outcome is not certain. Maybe they're trying to convince that stern city guard that no, they didn't see a rogue pilfering pie from the bakery while subtly hiding a pie behind their back. The game master, or dungeon master, or whatever you want to call it, will determine which stat is most appropriate for the task. Our pie-protecting friend trying to lie convincingly, now that would probably be a brains check. Trying to outrun a now suspicious guard, balance, or maybe even brawn if they plan to maybe shoulder chart through. And if the player roleplayed really well, the GM should not be afraid to give them a bonus to die as reward, because who's a good player? Yes, you're a good player. Right. You roll your dice pool for that stat. Target, well, you're looking for at least 1 6. A single 6 means that you have succeeded. You pull it off. Our hero manages to look innocent, or at least innocent enough. The GM might add a little flavor. The guard narrows his eyes, but grunts and waves you on. You got away with it. This time. Multiple 6s indicate a more decisive success. Not only does the guard believe you, maybe he even offers you a freshly baked, non-pilfered pie as an apology for even insinuating such a thing. No 6 at all? Well, that is a failure. The guard isn't buying it, or now he's very interested in what's behind your back. Whoops. Now, any of these scenes will move the story forward and be fun, so go with the rolls and enjoy the ride. However, what if you don't want to go with the roll? Well, what if your dice betray you? What if you do roll and it's all underwhelming? Essence offers a second chance mechanic, because sometimes you need to push your luck. Now here's the deal. After your initial roll, you can choose to re-roll once per roll. The condition is that you must have at least 1 die showing a 2, 3, 4, or 5 on that first roll. If you do, you pick up all of those dice, but not the ones that are 1 or 6, and you roll those dice again. The 1 and 6 from the first roll, they are stuck like glue for better or worse. After the reroll, you assess your final combined results. Any 1 and 6 from the first roll plus any 1 or 6 from the reroll dice And if you have at least 1 6 in the final collection, that means a success, as usual. If you roll a 2, 3, or 4, or 5, well, it doesn't matter. If you re-roll them and then you got maybe a 6 and a 1 and a 5, that 6 means you have still succeeded. However, and this is where the fun comes in, any 1 in that final result, regardless of if it came from the first or the second roll, introduces a complication, even if you succeed. Let's say you manage to scale a slippery castle wall thanks to the 6, but the grappling hook you used clangs loudly against a stone, alerting the guard from the 1. This is a risk and reward thing that keeps things interesting. You do get what you wanted, but sometimes with an however. And maybe you even roll no 6 at all despite re-rolling and introduce a 1, and then just things goes very fast downhill from there. Which is also a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. Now, while the core stats cover a broad capabilities of a character, sometimes you want to have a character that's a bit more specific in their expertise. This is where skill proficiencies come in. They allow for a bit more customization, and they are optional, but it is recommended for some more flowery customization of the characters. If your character possesses a skill relevant to an action, and whether you do or not is up to you and the DM to decide as you play, you can add an extra die to the dice pool. For example, if your character is a renowned scholar attempting to translate an ancient text with a brain check, and they have ancient languages proficiency, then they get to add a die. What die they get to add depends on what level they have. You have 1 through 5. You'll technically also have 0, which is you don't have the skill. But maybe you can decide, oh, we should add this skill to our game, and then you can maybe level up in it later, or add it to your character later if it makes sense. Level 1 means you add a d6. Level 2 means you add a d8. Level 3 means you add a d10. Level 4 means you add a d12. And level 5 means that you're a master and you add a d20. Anything higher than 5, so 6 or above, is a success. So being a master, rolling maybe 3d6 and a d20, getting at least one of those dice being 6 or higher is a lot more easy. Again, this is an optional rule, but one that we do recommend you do. As for how you create your character, well, it's designed to be a very swift thing in essence. The focus is on getting a compelling concept to the table and not getting bogged down by the minutiae. You'll distribute points to your brain's brawn and balance. You can use a preset array if you prefer, or you can roll for them. A good rule of thumb is that an average person in whatever world you play in probably has something like 2 or 3 in each stat. So if you want to have someone that's maybe better than the average person, you could add maybe 3, 4, maybe 5, some of them. If you want to have someone that's really strong but kind of stupid, maybe 5, 1, or 5, 2, 4. But this is where you sit down and think, who is this character that I'm playing? What is their background? What would be a logical split of their stats? What would be some logical skill proficiencies if you want to play with that? The quirks, their goals. Think of it like this. The narrative foundation is key. Decide what you want to play, and based on that, create something that suits that. Or just roll for it. You do you. Now, any RPG has combat, right? Unwritten rule at this point. Combat in essence aims for a more narrative and less number crunchy experience though. We're not meticulously tracking hit points, it's an accountancy exam. Or maybe I should say when conflict erupts, it's often resolved with an opposed roll. The attacker rolls with the relevant stat, let's say brawn for a mighty swing and or balance for precise strike. The defender does the same, maybe balance for dodge or brawn to block with a shield. And if the attacker scores 1 or more 6 and the defender doesn't, the attack connects. If both succeed or neither do, it's a parry or a glancing blow or a narrow escape. The GM narrates the outcome. And if you want to drag the combat out for some more of a dramatic effect, you can of course do a series of opposed rolls to show the different back and forth during the battle. Damage is also handled mostly descriptively. A successful hit doesn't just subtract numbers, it has tangible consequences. The GM might describe that the target is being staggered, disarmed, suffer an injury, or that imposes a disadvantage. For example, a hit from a heavy mace with a brawn attack might leave the opponent winded and struggling to act next turn, even if it's not for X points of damage. When you feel like, oh, by this point, you slit someone's throat, well, they're probably dead. It's up to the DM to decide when a combat is over, and just go with what you feel works best for your group. And if your group wants a bit of a more grittier feel, there is a critical wounds rule that's completely optional. This could lead to significantly lasting injuries or maybe even something life-threatening. The actual rules for this is a bit more complex, so if you want to play with this rule, check the rulebook, and it should be clear. If it's not clear, let me know in the comments and I'll try to explain it as best as I can. This rule is, again, optional, so I will actually not go into it more than that today. Ultimately, Essence is built on the principle of being story first. The rules are a framework, a tool to facilitate shared storytelling, not a rigid constraint. GM sets the scene and interprets the outcomes, but the player creativity in describing their actions is what truly breathes life into the game. Essence is, by the design, the essence of role-playing games. It's designed to be flexible, and it is designed to be fast to pick up. Because Essence is setting agnostic, you can use these core mechanics for something like a high fantasy epic, a gritty sci-fi opera, modern day mystery, a wizarding world, not the wizarding world, a wizarding world, of course, copyright things, or even a lighthearted adventure with some, Hansel and Gretel play with the kids, where maybe running out of treats is the biggest threat. You can decide it works with all of this. So if you feel like after watching this that Essence sounds like something you want to try out, the PDF rules are available on TTRPG, and it's offered there as a pay what you want, because the main goal is to get it into people's hands and see what kind of stories they can create with it. It's also 2 pages long, and charging for it would be weird. It is also available as an ebook on Kindle, and there it actually has a price because you can put it free, I think. So it's something like $5. But again, it's just 2 pages. You decide what you want to do. If you want to buy it there to support me, that's fun. If you want to support me but not buy it there, you can just maybe do a super thanks or sign up to a membership here on the channel, or just download it, drive through with any cost you want. Anyway, as mentioned, the birth of Essence was my own project, a text-based web game. That one is set in a specific fantasy world of my design, where I'm building that game using these very rules. It is a way to experience a classic RPG feel with a focus on narrative choices and streamlined mechanics, with an AI being your game master, and a shared database of world building between all players. It's still very early in development. These things take time, especially when you're also a dad who plays games, works full-time, has dad stuff to do, and on top of that, you're building something that you don't really know how to build, and therefore relying on a lot of AI tools and learning by doing to make it work. But I am making steady progress, and it's sort of playable. There's another video about how I'm doing this out on the channel if you want to take a look at that. And if you want to know about, get some feel for the world, I did put out like an AI generated trailer thing for the world building, because it was a fun project. So if you are now curious about the text-based RPGs project, or you want to follow along on any other gaming deep dives, or perhaps some other occasional quality dad jokes, then consider subscribing and maybe watching some of my other videos. If I do get some more views in, I could theoretically make money doing this, believe it or not, and well, that would simply go towards more games, of course, but every bit helps. But more than anything, I would genuinely love to hear what you think of Essence. What kind of settings or stories do you think Essence would be a good fit for? Drop your ideas in the comments below, and who knows, you might inspire someone else's next epic campaign, or at least just give them a good chuckle. And if you do end up trying it out for yourself, please let me know what you think of Essence in the comments. Any feedback is welcome. And that's it for this look at Essence. Thank you for your time, and may your dice always roll, well, at least not all once.